Everyone, happy Friday. Okay, so today we're going to continue talking about exponential functions and the parts of an exponential function. So we're going to be working in our notes. So if you didn't grab these notes yesterday, go ahead and grab those. So that's what I'm going to be going over in the video. And then there's an assignment after this. We're going to practice finding our base. We're going to be practicing finding the y-intercept. And then we're going to practice how do we identify what the asymptote is. And we talked about the asymptote yesterday. So we'll go over that again in this activity. Okay, so let's go to our notes first. Let me bring this up over here. You're going to need your calculator for your notes today. I have to do this to complete the notes because I'm going to show you something we have been doing in the calculator all year long. We're going to learn it again for exponential functions. Okay, so here's the notes. I know this is kind of small, so if you're working on the slide, you need to zoom in. It just happened that way. Sorry about that. Okay, so I put at the bottom of the notes down here. Here is the form for the equation for an exponential function, right here. So this is important information. So A is the y-intercept and B is the base. So if you've been given an equation like number 1, let me zoom in here. You've been given an equation like number 1, well, we can easily see it's in the form y equals a times b to the x. So remember, a is your y-intercept. So if that's the case, then your y-intercept for this one must be 4. And then your base, or how much it's changing by, has got to be the 6. See how easy this is to identify? Now, I'm going to help you. You can do number 2 on your own. I want to show you number 3. So number 3 looks a little different here. Y equals, I don't have an a value, right? Because I want it to be in this form, a times b to the x. But where's the a value? I see b, right? So your base for this one is going to be 5. Easy to plot that. Where's the a value? So we have to think, what is really, could we say is sitting in front of 5? When we multiply it times 5 to whatever power, it's not going to change the number we get. Couldn't we rewrite this as y equals 1 times, guys, I don't know, I cannot write a 5 to save my life. Couldn't we write it like this? 1, multiplying by 1 doesn't change anything. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 10 is 10. 1 times negative 200 is negative 200. It doesn't change anything. So anytime you don't see the a value sitting out there, it's really that sneaky invisible 1 that we keep talking about. So for this one, your y-intercept is going to be 1. So for this whole activity here, or the notes activity, we want to identify our y-intercept and we want to identify our base. But let's say I've been given a graph. Instead, look at number 4. Well, if you've been given a graph, finding my y-intercept, my a value, so remember a is your y-intercept, well, that's pretty easy because look, I know where it's crossing my y-axis right here. Now, the numbers are kind of hard to see, but we can count. Here's the origin, so that we're at 1. It's crossing the y-axis at 1. Now, to find our b value here, our base, that's our b value of our equation. So we literally could write our equation after this. We could say y equals, well, our a value is 1 times, we have to have our base and we raise it to the power of x. Well, here's how I suggest doing this, and we're going to use the calculator. I know I have this point right here. So this point is 0 for my x value, comma 1. What if I come up here and I find another point? Well, now I'm at 1 for my x value, and I go up to 3. So I have 2 points. I could put those in a table, right? If I make a little table here, I have 0 and 1, and then I have 1 and 3. Okay, well, if I do that, I can use the calculator, because anytime I have a table, remember I always go, what are you going to do with that table? Use stat edit. So we hit enter, and it brings up the table. So I can put these points in my table. So I put my x values in list 1, and then I put my y values in list 2. 1, whoops, didn't mean to do that. 1, enter, 3, enter. Now I go back to stat. Remember, we go over to calculate. Now we have done this with lines. That was option 4. We just learned how to do this regression where the calculator gives us the parts of our equation and gives us the equation with quadratics. That was option 5. And now I'm going to keep going down, arrowing down, arrowing down. My computer's running a little slow here. Keep going down. Okay, there it is. It jumped. What does this say? EXP. That stands for exponential. So it says 0 here. It's actually option 10. See, where 5 was quad, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're at 10. So you can hit enter once you're there. And we want to calculate an exponential regression. So you go down to calculate. Boom. It's giving me the A value, which is 1, which is what we already said it was. And it says my B value is 3. So my base is 3. So I've just written the equation, which I wasn't even asked to do, but it was easy to do because the calculator told me it's A times your base raised to the power of X. So our y-intercept is 1 and our base is 3. So if you've been given a graph, that's the best way. Find 2 points and let the calculator do the work for you. Now look at number 5. They didn't give me a graph, but instead they gave me a table, even better. Now I don't even have to create a table from the graph. They gave me the table. So let's go to stat again, hit enter. Now I'm going to put my X values in list 1, so -1. Oh, I know what it did. I hit the wrong negative. So I have to delete this and I have to do -1. Enter. There it is. -1, 0, 1, 2. I'm going to go over. And I'm not even going to erase these. I'm just going to type over them. So to do a fraction like 1/5, you have to do 1 divided by 5. Hit enter. And it's going to change it to a decimal. That's okay. 1, 5, 25. Okay, so I go back to stat. I go over to calculate. And I'm going to have to arrow down until I can get to where it says EXP regression, because that's exponential regression. And you have to arrow down quite a ways. There it is. And I hit enter. And I have to go down to where it says calculate. Hit enter. There it is. It's telling me my A value, which that is, what did that just do here? My goodness. That's my y-intercept. Remember the A value? So my y-intercept is 1. And my base, my B value, is 5. So there's my 2 parts. Okay, I want to try one more with the graph. And do number 7 with you, because the graphs can be a little tricky. I'm going to use a calculator. And I want to talk again about that asymptote. So remember, these guys have an asymptote, which is this invisible line that it gets really, really, really close to, but it never ever touches. And it's always a y equals thing, the asymptote is. So think of it almost like the opposite of the axis of symmetry for a quadratic. So when we had quadratics, we would find our axis of symmetry, which is where we could cut it in half. That was an invisible line too, and it always went through the x-axis. But notice this invisible line, this asymptote over here, is always going through the y-axis somewhere. So for this one, it's going through 0. So your asymptote for this one, I just want to review this real quick. Your asymptote for this one is y equals, well, what value is it going through right there? It's going through 0. Now, they don't always go through 0. We'll see some more in a minute that aren't going through 0. Okay, so let's try to find our y-intercept here. And then let's try to find the base. That's what we're trying to find. Well, I can see where it's crossing the y-intercept right there. That's at 1. And so I'm going to find another point. So make sure you pick a good one. Usually if you go over one square, there's a good point right there. So I could put these in a table. Keep myself straight. So this is the point right here, 0, 1. And this is the point I go over to -1 on my x, and I go up 2. Okay, so my x value, so I have 0 and 1, and I have -1 and 2. So those are the values that I want to put in my table over here in the calculator. Stat, go to edit. Now I'm going to clear these out because I have too many values in here. So I go over, highlight the thing, go down. Okay, so I have 0. And then I have -1. And then my y value is 1 and 2. Okay, so I go stat, over to calculate, and I'm going to have to keep going down until I can see it, unless you can remember what number it is. I think it's if you hit 0. There it is right there, exponential regression. And then I go down to calculate. And there it is. So my A value is 1. That's what we found. That's the y-intercept. And my base is 0.5. And that's the same thing as 1/2. Okay? Now, I'm going to let you finish out the rest of these. You have another graph. You have a few more tables. And then the equations up here on the first page. So find your base, find your y-intercept. Let's try to get really good at that. Now let's go over, and I may not have unlocked this. I think let me unlock. I don't think I unlocked this real quick. I always forget. Okay, I think I have it unlocked now. So finding asymptotes matching activity. I'm gonna have to leave student view on this one. So I'm gonna show you, take you through. It's gonna take it a minute to load. My computer is running really slow. Okay, so remember to click this blue link here. So that opens it in a new tab, because you just can't work off of that page. Now for these, we're going to use Desmos. We're going to start graphing these in Desmos. So you probably are going to need to zoom in here to see these. Okay, so remember you can adjust your zoom. So for these, they want us to match a graph to it, and your graphs are over here. Okay, so you're going to cut these, and you're going to paste them and match them to the right function. And then they want you to identify your y-intercept. So what I haven't done here, which I will do, is I need to insert some text boxes. I forgot to do that, so I'll have to go back and do that. Or you can insert your own text boxes, okay? But I'll go back and put those on there. So let me put another one, Control D, because I'm only going to do one of these for you guys. I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so we have a function here, f of x is equal to 4 to the x. Now remember, you can look at it and find your y-intercept because it's the a value. It's a number in front. So do you see a number in front? In front of the one that has the power on it. That's what you're looking for. Now remember, sometimes it's a 1. So if that's the case, and you're not sure, type it in Desmos. You can always type these things in Desmos. This is the beauty of Desmos. So we have f of x equals 4 to the power of x. So I'm going to type my 4. Now here is how you get the power of x. You can either do Shift 6 on your keyboard, or see this one right here. We've been using this one that puts the squared on it. If you do this one, it lets you type whatever power you want, a to the b. Okay, there's your function right there. So again, I can click and say, where is it crossing the y-axis? Oh, it is at 1. So my y-intercept for this one is 1. Move my thing up here. I'll have these text boxes adjusted for you guys. Okay, so now I want to find my asymptote. Well, I noticed, see how it's flattening out? You'll always be able to see how the curve is flattening out here. And if you drag your mouse along it, you're going to see what it's approaching. So we're looking for the y value there, because I want to see, well, where would this thing cut through the y-axis? Well, it's the y value. See how it's getting like super, super close? And actually, it's not equal to 0, but it's getting like really, really close to it. You can see there that the y value is 0. That's your asymptote. That's where it's approaching. It's getting really close to. So you're always going to put a y equals. Okay, so let me get a better picture, because now I need to go find my graph. So I can see this one is a backwards L. It's increasing. It's going up. And I know it's crossing at 1. So I'm going to go back over here to this page now. So I know it can't be this one. Didn't look like that. Didn't look like any of those. Oh, it kind of looked like this one. It was crossing at 1. It was increasing. Didn't look like that. It wasn't below my x-axis, so it can't be that one. It wasn't up here. No, it's got to be this one right here. So I'm going to do Control X, and I'm going to Control V. Paste it over here. There's the graph for that one. So let's look at another one together. Let's look at maybe, let me find a good one here. Let's go to the second page, see if I can find another one to share with you. Let's do this one. Let's do number 6. It looks daunting. It looks like it's a little crazy. Okay, so I have negative and type it in just like they gave it to you. Negative 1/2. I don't want my x here. Parentheses, negative 1/2 to the power of x. I hit this. Whoops, not z, power of x. Then I'm going to go over and do plus 4. Okay, so this one has gotten crazy. It's tumped over it, and it's been like moved around. Well, where is my y-intercept? Here's my y-axis. Boom, it's crossing right there. It's crossing at 3. So I know my y-intercept for this one. I'm going to grab these real quick. Then I'll have this fixed when y'all do this. I know my y-intercept for this one is going to be 3. Okay, so now I need to find that asymptote. It is a y equals equation. Give me a space there. Okay, so here I go. So see, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see. See how the graph is, it's still going out here, but here is where it's flattening. It always gets flat in the horizontal direction. So where is it getting flat? What's it approaching? So I'm going to trace it. What is the y value there? What's it telling you the y value is getting close to? See, it's a 4. That's the only one that's not changing. My x value is changing, 33, so I can't pick that one. It's the one that's staying the same. It's the one it's getting really close to. It's getting close to a y value of 4. So that's your asymptote, y equals 4. That's the equation that it's getting really, really close to that line, because horizontal lines are y equals equations. Okay, that's all there is. Now, let's go find our graph here. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so this one is like an upside down L, and I know it's crossing at 3. So I'm looking for that. Oh, it could be this one. This one's crossing at 3. It's upside down L. It wasn't going this direction. It has to be that one. It has to be the one that's upside down. So I'm going to Control X, Control V. I'm going to paste that right there. Okay, so that's all there is to this assignment, and I'll put these text boxes on here before you guys do that. So you're trying to match it to the graph. You're still trying to figure out what that y-intercept is, and then you need to figure out what is the equation for your asymptote. So again, trace the line where it's flattening out, and Desmos is going to tell you you're looking for your y value there.